I'd like to denounce the Word Balloon podcast. The show and its so-called host, John Suntress, are a disgrace to the nation. 19 years of episodes and not one conversation about Sad Sack. I base all my military appropriation Senate votes on the whimsy of this great comic. And don't mess with Texas.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. It's been called one of the top 3 real Comic-Cons in the USA. August 16th through the 18th, discover Terrificon as it returns to the Mohegan Sun Expo Center in Uncasville, Connecticut. Terrificon showrunner Mitch Halleck has assembled his biggest and best comic creator guest list to date. Jim Lee, Scotty Young, Mark Waid, Adam Hughes, Jason Aaron, Charles Soule, Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, Brian Azzarello, alongside legends like Chris Claremont, Jerry Ordway, Howard Chaykin, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Louise and Walter Simonson, Klaus Janson, Lee Weeks, and dozens more. Terrificon also brings you the actors who have brought your favorite superheroes to life on the big and small screens. Michael Rooker, Charlie Cox, Star Trek actors Walter Koenig, Nana Visitor, Armin Shimmerman, Ethan Peck, Celia Rose Gooding, and many more. That's Terrificon, August 16th through the 18th. For information on tickets and guests, visit Terrificon.com. Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here, one of my oldest friends in comics, one of the first creators that I really got to know in his very early years, Dave Wachter. Welcome to Word Balloon.
Thank you, John. Thanks. Good to be here. Good to be back.
You know, honestly, Dave, all we did were maybe 1 or 2 convention floor interviews. I have never had you on for a one-on-one, and I regret that. And now finally, I'm glad I'm making up for very lost time, and we're talking this way.
That's awesome. I'm happy we could do it. Better late than never.
Well, and truly, congratulations, man. I really feel like I've watched the evolution of your art from a very early stage. What was that comic that you did where the guy got the heart transplant and from a superhero?
Scar Tissue. That was the first thing. That was it. Self-published. Me and Jim Andrew Clark wrote it, and that was and only took us 2 years to do 5 issues. You know, self-published. Just print on demand. The old-fashioned way. You know, we made it. We got it printed up. We took it to conventions, and it went from there. But yeah, that was the beginning. That was like I was probably it was 20 years ago. So I was about 28 years old, and I think it was 27 or 28 when I was like, I think I'll give a shot at this drawing comics again. And I put some pages. I had found a script from Dark Horse. They used to put up this little short Ghost script. Remember Ghost? And it was just a little tryout script. So I illustrated those pages, and then that was when message boards were still big, and there was a lot of comic book art message boards, and I put them up there, and somebody saw it. Well, that's when they were doing. There was this thing coming out of the Bendis board. Was a bunch of people put together Ronin Studios. I don't know if you remember that. We were all self-publishing our own books under this banner of Ronin Studios, and somebody they were just starting that up, and somebody was like, hey, like we might have a writer that wants to work with you, and that's how it started. And we did that, and then went to conventions as Ronin Studios, pooling our resources. It wasn't, we're just printing up our own books, but you put the little logo in the corner, and then you pull your resources for convention going to San Diego, going to Chicago, doing the big cons and just trying to get the word out and just trying to get, be a part of things.
That's great, man.
That was it. Scar tissue. And yeah, I mean, it's the art in it is looks 20 years prior to what I'm doing now, but it's not terrible. It's not bad. It's really not bad.
No, Dave, you got to start somewhere, and that's fine. And I think, again, it was readable and everything, but your art, as I was saying to you off the air, it has really been a pleasure observing the evolution of your art. And before we get to the modern stuff, another thing you did early on, and again, showing this is before Kickstarter, crowdfunding, and whatever, you had a web comic where it was a Western that these gunslingers had superpowers. What was that called again?
That was the Guns of Shadow Valley. And that was, and that was the thing we did. Jim and I wrote that together. So we just done Scar Tissue, and we were at San Diego, and we just finished up Scar Tissue and done a trade paperback. And he goes, what do you want to work on next? And I was like, actually, I have this idea. I was like, what if there's superpowers in the Old West? So yeah, and we took that thing around to publisher. This is now us. Now we're going to get published. All right. So now we're going to take. We printed up this little ash can version of it, full color, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. In its horizontal format that would haunt retailers for years and people who like to put their books on bookshelves. And we took it around and we got some nibbles, but we didn't like what the publishers wanted, basically what they wanted to do, what the control they wanted, or how much they wanted to take. So I had actually talked to, I was coming back from the Comic Geek Speak, did that Super Show convention.
Yeah, sure.
And Brian Deemer at Comic Geek Speak was driving me to the airport in Philly, because you got to go all the way to Philly for the airport. And so it was a long ride. And he was like, well, why don't you do it you ever thought about doing it as a web comic? And it just was like, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I mean, we're not going to get paid either way. So put it up on the web, worked on it when I could in between other things, because then I started getting some work. So working on it off and on, trying to keep it as regular as possible. But, that was like 6 years on that thing. And then there was Kickstarter. Did a big Kickstarter. That was really successful. Finished it, did the big oversized hardcover. Dark Horse did the, retail version of it. Because by that time I had also done Breath of Bones for Dark Horse. And so they were like, what else you got? And, I was like, I have this idea, but I'm about to do a Kickstarter. So you guys still want to print this up, because I'm like launching this Kickstarter next week. And they were like, yeah, we can do like a retail version of it or whatever. So, yeah. And that's how, but that I still, you come to my table at a convention, I'll still have copies of Guns of Shadow Valley to sell. Because I've got boxes and boxes of them. They printed up so many of those things. We did not make a dime off of Dark Horse, because they just printed up so many. Like, they just printed up so many of them. So, Jim and I just bought up the stock, and at the end we bought it for real cheap, because they were going to destroy them. And so we were like, yeah, well, okay, we'll take the rest that you've got. So I've got boxes of these things. I mean, I'm looking at boxes underneath my desk. There's a couple boxes there. I know there's a closet that's got a couple of boxes. So every time I go to a show, there's somebody new who's like, ooh, what's this? I'm still very proud of it. It still looks good. It's a good story.
Absolutely, Dave. Yes.
I'm still proud of it. So I put it on the table and sell it at not even at a discounted price. I do it at cover price. I do a little sketch on the inside, and
nice.
I sold last weekend at that little convention in Michigan. I sold like 5 or 6 copies. It's worth bringing it.
100%, man. No, I'm glad. And actually, that's a good place to transition in what you're currently doing with Boom and Uncanny Valley. You and Tony Fleece. I spoke to Tony a couple months ago about it.
Yeah.
But we get yours. This is it's great because it really is a bunch of different art styles that I think you're really showing your strengths in more than just one art way in this book, and I think that's great. Talk about it.
Well, it was yeah. I mean, I'll give you a little bit of the backstory. You know, I've known Tony as long as I've known you. I mean, I met Tony in well, he was on the Bendis board, and so I was there too. And I remember him. He was doing his little self-published ash can of his autobio stories called "In My Lifetime." And,
yes.
I think it was 2005 Wizard World Chicago. He's taking that thing around, dropping it off to people. I've got the first 1 or 2 issues of Scar Tissue. You know, so I've known him since then. We worked on a couple of small things, like we did a version of Tell Them Johnny Watt Is Here, that he wrote, and I did the art of like a PG-13 version of that, and then we did this other thing that was sort of like a instructional, like a business accounting 101 comic. But that was it, and it was a good about 10 years ago, again at Chicago at C2E2, we were rooming together. He was like, "Hey Dave, I got this idea for this comic I've been kicking around in my head for a little bit, and I think you'd be good for it. It's going to be like sort of there'll be 2 art styles in it. There'll be like a realistic art style, and then there'll be like a cartoony stuff. And I think you'd be really good for the realistic stuff." And he's like, "How's that sound?" I said, "Well, it sounds like you want me to draw the boring parts, and you're going to give somebody else all the fun parts." Is what I said, and a little bit, you know, being funny. But here it is, like a decade later, and he approaches me. You know, he just. And we see each other now and then at shows and keep in touch and stuff like that. Have a mutual respect for each other, and as we both were working for IDW on different properties for years and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, he approaches me and he says, "Do you remember that idea from like a decade ago?" He was like, "Do you think you could do both parts?" And I said, "Yeah, I do. I do think I could do both parts." But I thought it sounded like an interesting challenge. Because I don't exercise that part of my creative brain that much as doing the more cartoony stuff, for lack of a better word. And that can be a sort of seem derogatory, but I don't mean it that way. I'm just trying to use it as a description.
As a contrast, from the style that we do expect from you.
Yeah.
And people, the audio listeners, if you watch the YouTube video, I've got the cover up right now. And there's a character in particular that is one of the main characters, and he's got a kind of Yosemite Sam sort of look to him. No copyright infringement intended.
No. We have stayed just outside of copyright. That's Pecos Pete, a very prominent character in that. But yeah, he's definitely our, what do you want to call it? Kmart version of Yosemite Sam. Oh.
No, it's like Roger Rabbit. It's like Roger Rabbit being surrounded by a realistic style. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So that's basically the idea. Is it's like a Roger Rabbit, but it's a coming of age story. Or I like to say it's like Percy Jackson, but instead of Greek gods, it's cartoons. But the same sort of thing where there's an adventure, there's a road story, there's a coming of age story, there's a family story in there. I'm having a ball with it. Quite frankly, the drawing of it it's flexing muscles I haven't flexed. But it's also, I get to go back and do the research and looking at all these old cartoons. So it's, now we have something like I was on Disney Plus, and they have all the old shorts and all the old little movies, and what's the one, the Melodies one,
Merry Melodies.
Merry Melodies. So I'm looking at with all the shorts in there. Plus, that's an early one that has real life, segments that have cartoons around it. It's so it's really fun doing that kind of research and like trying to figure out what the core of these styles is and what makes a Warner Brothers style, what makes a Disney style, or an early Disney style, or a later Disney style, what makes a Don Bluth style, Then what makes like the type of stuff like Alex Toth worked on, what makes a Herculoids, or later what makes a He-Man, because that all that kind of stuff is going to be playing into it. I mean, we're not just throwing random cartoons. We're literally trying to reference different ages of cartoons. I got cartoons in there that are black and white that have film scratches on them. Like it's a lot of fun. It's a real joy to do. And then I was just working on issue 4, and like that one, the first 3 have been a lot of fun, and there's more gags, there's more cartoon gags, and the way Tony writes these things, you recognize the cartoon gag, but it's sideways just a little bit. Like it has a different meaning when like there's real people involved, so it adds a different spin on all these different kind of cartoon gags, whether it be a stick of dynamite, or it be falling down the ravine, or blowing up in a cloud of smoke that's shaped like you, or running through a wall that's your shape, or whatever, all of that. But I was just working on issue 4, and it's got this it's got a real it's like I read that one, and I was like, Tony, yeah, this is like, this issue really like gets you in the feels, because he's really built in a really interesting family drama with it, where he not only asks the question like, what is it to be sort of involved, like having family, because it is it's about family, you know it's a it's the Fast and the Furious. It's all about family. But it is, like Tony writes these things, and it's not he puts more into it than just an adventure. It is about this kid and his family and his mom, and what would it mean to have cartoons as your relatives, or what would it mean to be raised in one way or another. There's a lot of single parent stuff going on in there. I mean, it's really, I don't want to spoil what happens, but man, I'm like, issue 3 is so good. And then when I read the script to issue 4, I was like, I can't even believe where it has gone. Each issue, he's giving us something more and more and more, and he turns it on its side a little bit. Issue 5 and 6, seeing what's going to happen in issue 5 and 6, it's just like, okay, it starts getting real meta and everything. I mean, it's really awesome. I'm thrilled to be working with Tony. I'm happy that he is a friend of mine, but I'm very happy that he is a really, really, really great writer. Like his stuff is just good.
It's again, much like yourself, it's been fun watching Tony's evolution as a writer and an artist. I always love the fact that, we both know Tony as a guy, and when he was doing the My Little Pony covers, and I would see him at shows, and little kids would be like, "Can you draw Pinkie Pie?" And he'd be smoking. Yeah, I got your fucking Pinkie Pie. Hold on a second. That's Tony, man, which I love. But truly, Farrell and is it Prey? I forget his other current book.
He did Stray Dogs.
Stray Dogs, that's right. And Farrell's
before. He's got Farrell now. Local Man.
Certainly with Seeley, yes. Great book. Excellent book. But yeah, that's the thing, man. And this book, much like yourself, it's showing that he can, use different muscles and tell a great story. And I'm so glad that the publishers get Tony, and he's having this current success that he's having. And again, much like yourself, man. So that's great. Is it just 6 issues?
It's been solicited for 6 issues. We would like 12. Let's just put it like,
yeah.
It's a matter of numbers at some point. You know what I mean?
Of course, I do.
I feel like the full story, if you want the whole thing, we got to get to 12. 6,
okay, very cool.
He's got an ending there at 6, but man, if we're able to get to 12, that would be phenomenal. And then even after that, depending on its success, there could be a sequel, but that first story would definitely be 12.
Gotcha.
That's
great,
what we
man.
want. You can't see it. There we go. That's what we want. That's what we want.
Indeed.
We want 12.
Well, here, man. And no, I'm glad you found a home at Boom with this. And yeah, it's a crowded shelf, Tone. It's a crowded shelf, David. And it's tough to, kind of get noticed and everything. But I really think the strength of your art and the back catalog that Tony has, and including the current book, Feral, as well. I think it will swing some eyeballs your guys' way, and hopefully you'll get that, at least that 12. And again, sky's the limit.
Yeah, I hope so. It's an interesting marketplace right now. It's kind of a, I don't want to call it dog eat dog, but I know there's some struggles out there right now. There was a real boom, not to
play on words,
to play with the word, but there was a height in the industry during COVID. Strangely enough, everybody home with their government cheese money and extra time on their hands. Not going into work or working from home. They got some time to read some comics, and they got some of that government cheese to pay for it. But now it's a different time, and after every, what goes up must come down, and I think we've come down. Are we going back up? I was at Tony and I did Comics Pro, which is the retailer summit, and it was here in Pittsburgh, luckily for me, anyway.
Yeah.
And I will say, for as much as people talk about like the struggles with the industry and everything, that gave me more hope than anything. Talking to retailers, and it gave me, like, I hadn't done a whole lot of connecting with retailers in a long time because I hadn't had a creator-owned book. I let Marvel and IDW handle that kind of stuff. I just got to draw. I was just like, I draw the stuff. I'm busy drawing. But watching from Tony's example, because Tony's good at the what do you call it? The hustle, I guess.
Hand selling.
Yeah, like getting
stores
out there.
Sure.
And making relationships with people. And he's really good at that. And my wife is always like, you should watch what Tony does. Like I don't know why that's my invitation to my wife. That's not.
You're gonna get a frying pan in the face when we're done recording. I know she's back. And by the way, as she can hear it, we'll say it on the air. David, and I'm sorry, what's your wife's name? Excuse me.
Jenny.
Jenny just celebrated an anniversary a couple days ago, so everyone should wish Dave and Jenny a happy anniversary. The people that are watching, but by all means, continue.
She said thank you back there.
My pleasure.
8 years. So. But yeah, so getting to meet retailers again, and just they do this thing called the round table, right? They have these.
Yes, I've been there. That? Yes.
So for those who are watching or listening, might not know, there's a bunch of round tables, and publishers have a bunch of tables in a room. There's a different publisher at each one, and it's basically like speed dating. You get I can't remember how much it was, 5 minutes or something like that. And retailers, you usually get like 2 different retailers, maybe 3 at a time, come down, sit at your table, and you pitch to them your books or your line of books. And Tony had gotten a table for himself because he's got so many books. He's just like, there's a bunch of publishers that have tables, and then there's these guys. So having all the retailers come over, Tony was talking up the books. And we had that. You showed the cover of the Comics Pro edition, which is like the work print, right? It's the unfinished one. That's why it's black and white down at the bottom, because it's there's unfinished pages in it and stuff. But there was a little sketch page on the back, and I would sketch Pecos Pete for everybody sitting at the table in the 5 minutes. So I was getting these things down like a sketch a minute, and giving those out to the retailers. But meeting those, it really was encouraging to me. Like they're all the retailers that were there were very excited, were very enthusiastic, very positive, recognizing that there are struggles in the industry right now. But I think everybody felt like things were going to turn around at some point soon, or whether they saw signs now or they were seeing signs over the horizon of what was going to happen. But it made me feel real good about the state of the industry, and meeting retailers. Like you get that kind of that concept in your head of the comic book retailer sometimes, and there's definitely some of them out there that are definitely like the comic book guy or whatever, sort of that kind of abrasive, antisocial kind of person. But all of the 99.999% of these people were just awesome. A very diverse group of people, not just a bunch of like middle-aged guys like me and you. It really was it was a very diverse, as far as gender, as far as age. I loved how many young retailers there were, because you always hear about shops closing down, but I was there, and there were people who were like, I'm opening a shop next month, or we just opened up. And that gave me a lot of positive feelings about the industry that I'm in. And it also made me feel I can be, I'm an artist. I work in this room all day, and I the most I do is conventions, and then I sit at a table all day and people come up. But it made me feel connected to the industry, another side of the industry that I don't usually feel connected to as much, other than my local retailer, but to meet so many different ones. And it made me feel like more part of things. And I think that comes with doing a creator-owned book. You have to get out there. You have to talk to people. You have to form these relationships with people. When I was after Comics Pro, I made a list of all the comic shops in Pittsburgh, and there's a lot of them. Like per capita, Pittsburgh's got a lot of shops. I don't know, a dozen, 15? There's a lot of shops around Pittsburgh.
Sure.
And I made a list of all the ones that I didn't see at Comics Pro, because I think I saw 4 or 5 of them at Comics Pro. And then I made a list of all these other ones, and I started driving around and trying to hit all the ones I could hit. First of all, I found out how long it takes to get from one side to the other. Because Pittsburgh, the city is small, but once you think about that, it's the Pittsburgh surrounding area, and then you're coming up and you find, you get done with one place, and then it's like 3:00, and you realize that the traffic's picking up, and you're going to get stuck behind a school bus. And so I hit as many as I could, but bringing that promo copy around, bringing little promotional materials that Tony had made. He made these little trading cards and stuff. Bringing that around, talking to people, talking it up. So that was, and again, that just got me more connected to now the local scene, the local retail community. And those guys all know each other, because I was talking to my local guy, Phantom of the Attic in Oakland.
Okay.
And the guy there, Jeff, who owns it, I've known since I moved to Pittsburgh. And he was like, "Oh, did you talk to Jerry? Did you talk to that?" Like they all, I'm like, "Oh, right. These guys all know each other. They've all been retailers for a long time. Some of them are sort of brand new to it, but they're like, oh yeah, that's the new shop, that just took over the old space for there and all that kind of stuff." So it really did. It does rope you back into a community. When you're doing a book that you have to promote. Yeah.
That's great, man. No, and I understand. And again, prior to Pittsburgh, you were here in Chicago for a good number of years, and you saw the same kind of store community out here. But I didn't realize that about Pittsburgh, that it has that many, because that is a smaller city compared to Chicago.
Yep.
But and again, just like your outlying area, suburban Chicago, in addition to what's in the city, is certainly vibrant, and everybody pretty much knows each other. I had the pleasure of going to Comics Pro years ago, and I didn't want to interfere. I just wanted to be a fly on the wall, and I would sit and watch the roundtables and stuff, and it was really cool. And there were knowledgeable vendors that that understood and asked good questions, and watched the publishers kind of pitch their stuff. Even the big two of Marvel and DC, certainly not shy to those things. And it was good to see a different side of the ecosystem and learn a little bit more about it and stuff. Patrick from Challengers, Patrick Brower, fantastic store. and a good friend,
Oh, yeah.
put me on the list and everything. So I've been able to, kind of, like I said, I just want to observe. I don't want to interfere, but I just want to observe like that part of the business. So no, I get it, man. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really cool. Also, we mentioned IDW, and you did Turtles over there, and you did. I don't remember what else, but of course, the big ticket for all of us was seeing your wonderful work on Godzilla.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's yeah. So IDW was the first publisher like that I actually worked for. Yeah, that's the first publisher I worked for.
Okay.
And I had met Bobby Curnow, who is now him and other guys who used to be at IDW now have Magma. That's their new publishing company, and I think things are looking very cool over there. Bobby was a great editor, and he's the guy I worked with the whole time I was over there. He did the entire Turtles line. He was in charge of. He was in charge of the Godzilla stuff, the My Little Pony stuff. That's where he worked with Tony on that.
Sure.
And yeah, I did that Robert Bloch miniseries, Hellbound Train, was the first published work I did, and then after that I did that book that Bobby had actually written, Night of a Thousand Wolves, which I did the watercolors in and everything, and that ended up being the thing that got me nominated for the Russ Manning Award, another award I lost.
Yeah, it's Dave. Again, it's I was talking to Kelly Thompson. She's got five nominations this year and stuff, and she's already won. I didn't realize that, but I was telling her, man, in the late '90s, I was nominated for an Emmy, a television Emmy.
Yeah,
and I didn't win, but let me tell you something, man. When they read the resume and it's like, really, you were nominated for an Emmy? It's like, yes, I was. And the Russ Manning, that's the best newcomer award category in the Eisners. That's a really important category, man. So
yeah, it was a fun experience. It got me out to San Diego again. Gave me a reason to go to San Diego. But so that's it. Even though I had been working for years, but I had done so much of this stuff was self-publishing, or just not any publishers like that. So they were like, did this come out within? I don't know. It may have even been the last 2 years. Like it might not have been just the last year. It might have been the last 2 years when that qualifies you to be in the Russ Manning. So that was 2012, and I had been doing stuff for like 7 years at that point. But yeah, but not with a publisher, because I was never this guy that took my portfolio around to publishers and was like, I want to work for you guys, like, here's my portfolio, come take a look. Like I don't know. I just made comics. My thing was, what do you want to do? I want to make comics. So that's what I did, and we made comics, and that's how I got the career started, was just making things and getting them printed up and putting them on the web or doing whatever. And then when I was out there in San Diego again, a couple of years before that, because we got nominated for the Eisners for Guns of Shadow Valley as a webcomic. So I was out there, and that's when I met Bobby, because that was Tony. Tony was like, you should put together a portfolio and I'll show you around the publishers. And I was like, okay, I did it. And all I had was Guns of Shadow Valley pages, but Bobby had seen them, and he had actually come up to our booth. Pat Loico always had that booth that we would share with him and stuff. I think he still gets it every year, just so that he's grandfathered in, because once you don't have a booth one year, then it's hard to get a booth again. So he keeps getting a booth every year.
Oh yeah,
people. But and that was where I met Bobby from IDW and did all that work for him. And then he got me on Godzilla. I did a fill-in issue for one of their Godzilla books. Then I did Godzilla Cataclysm with Cullen Bunn. You remember Cullen?
Love Cullen.
Yeah, so he had written Godzilla Cataclysm. Then I did the art for, and that was awesome because I did my own coloring and all that. They gave me some extra time. And then I did an issue of Godzilla in Hell, which was awesome. I wrote, it was, for those who don't know, Godzilla in Hell was a 5-issue miniseries, a different artistic team or a single voice on each book. So it could be like James Stokoe did the first one. He wrote, did all the art. and then there would be a couple of them had art, like a writer and an artist. And then I did the last issue, issue 5. I wrote it. I did all the art for it. Spent some time on it. Did it in watercolors and all this kind of stuff. It's so much fun. Yeah, it was so much fun to do. Still one of the things that I enjoyed doing the most. Godzilla is a really fun thing to draw. And like I like big monsters. I like destruction. I like smoke. I like explosions. And that's just kind of, I say it's easy for me, but it gets certain kind of juices going where like this is going to be fun. Like I know it's not going to be hard, but I know it's going to be fun. It's not like, oh, it's not going to be hard, but it'll be boring. No, it's not going to be hard, but it'll still be fun. And every time, and I draw Godzilla at conventions and stuff. There's always somebody who wants Godzilla.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm currently doing the covers of their library editions, which you had up there. That's the cover to issue 1 of the library edition. I think there's going to be like 7 of them. I don't know. I just recently finished the 4th cover. So that's just a fun thing that I still get to be kind of involved, doing something of Godzilla while I'm doing other stuff.
Absolutely. Now we grew up on the Toho movies of the 60s, obviously, in the 70s.
I didn't grow up in the 60s. I don't know about you.
You know what I mean? That they'd show them on Saturday. Neither, I was
Saturdays
a very
and Sundays, I think. Yeah, probably right. Maybe on the same channel that showed Kung Fu. I don't know.
No, here in Chicago, Svengoolie actually last Saturday showed Destroy All Monsters. And what do you think of the recent film product? And listen, Godzilla Minus Zero is in a class by itself.
Yeah.
And as always, and understandably, the Japanese know what they're doing. I have to confess, I'm not as much of a fan of the Legendary product.
Sure.
However, I loved, when I heard that Matt Fraction was first, I heard, oh, Matt's writing a Godzilla, thing of the Monarch TV show that was on Apple. Yeah. And I'm like, God, I hope I like this because I love Matt, but I'm not crazy about the modern product. And then it's like, oh, no, Matt co-created it. And I'm like, now I absolutely have to watch it. And man, I was so relieved because I really loved watching the Titans fight and the idea of this secret organization that is formed to kind of keep an eye on things. And if they have to fight them, so be it. But what do you think of the modern film and television product?
That secret organization of Monarch that they've been hitting at since the first movie, the first Legendary movie, which I really liked. I really liked that movie a lot when I saw it. I don't, and I if I went back now, who knows? I know that my experience in the movie theater was this is awesome. I liked how it was done. I liked that you never saw Godzilla from an angle that wasn't from a person. If a person wasn't standing there looking at him, you wouldn't have seen that angle, right? So, which I thought was a lot of fun. I liked how much they used him in the movie. I liked the tension of it, of like building until he finally comes out.
Sure.
I love that. I love a good monster movie that doesn't give you the monster all the time. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, you never get to see the monster. He only comes in at the end. But if it's done right, that's the tension you want to build so that when he finally comes out, boom, you're like, whoa, and hopefully you're not disappointed by the monster. And I wasn't in that one. Like, he seemed massive. He seemed huge. He seemed like he had put on a couple of pounds. But he was, but I really enjoyed it. And I've seen, I saw the one after that, where they get the other monsters and Mothra comes out and all that.
Yeah, King of the Monsters. Yeah.
Yeah, King of the Monsters. And I like that one fine. But you know what it was? I didn't see it in the movie theater. And that, and I'm going to tell you, I haven't been to the movie theater in years. And this is like, it's I don't know. It's a combination of factors. One is COVID. COVID knocked it out of me. Two, it's my age. I can't put up with somebody turning on their phone or being annoying in a movie. I can't even stand it anymore.
I'm with you.
Like I'm so intolerant of it. Like it just
I get it.
watch the movie, you know, like like it's just I'm over there. I'm just like I can see that. I don't know what I wasn't always like this. I mean, I was, you know, if you were being obnoxious, yes, but like every little thing gets to me, and it's just, you know, with just the way my life is now, I don't get to the movies.
I
So
get it. I have the same problem, and I'm not even, married or,
yeah,
I'm really on my own. But truly, I can count on one hand the times I've gone post COVID to the movies, and I will look at the rest of the marquee, and I'm not interested in other than what I am seeing at the moment. So even joining a movie club doesn't make sense to me
yeah,
because it's like I don't want to see Meg 2. I don't want to see the Trolls movie, or you name the animated kids movie or whatever. And it's just
yeah,
like they don't make movies for the theaters like we used to. I always give Two Guns, the Denzel Mark Wahlberg movie that was based on the Boom comic that Steve Grant wrote.
yeah,
And it's like if that thing came out in the 90s, it would have been the hit of the summer.
yeah,
And it didn't find its audience until it was on DVD and on cable. And we've certainly been removed from that world now too with streaming. And I think COVID greased the wheels and got us to where we are faster. But I think it was even happening before COVID
yeah,
because, again, with your home theater
yeah.
and the lack of annoyance, it's like,
No.
no, I like this and I like watching movies this way instead of going to the theater. I hear you, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We were on there the way there. COVID just pushed us there a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And I think another result of COVID was a lot of people kind of lost their minds a little bit, and they don't know how to act in public anymore. I really think that. I think people got cooped
You're
up.
right.
They were home. They go outside now, and maybe me too. You know, like I'm in the theater. I can't put up with stuff because, you know, also because it's just so comfortable at home. Home is comfort, you know, and it's
I'm with
all
you, man.
there. Like you can watch anything, you can watch it all. So like what, you know, and I think that there's the film industry probably, you know, a little bit to blame, you know, where you can't there's certain kinds of movies that just weren't being made anymore. You know, you think about the 90s and sort of the indie boom that happened, like you had to go to the movie theaters to see those, and theaters would show those, you know, something like that. But now it's got to make so much money. Even before COVID, it had to make so much money, so you had to spend so much money to make it. So like those 90s independent movies never would have happened.
I hear you, David. I absolutely hear you,
The way
man.
it goes. But yeah,
Go ahead. Finish your thought. Go ahead. Finish your
but I
thought.
don't know. But yeah, Godzilla's great. I haven't actually seen the latest one. I haven't like the ones where he teams up with King Kong.
Yep.
Are there two of those now?
There are two of them.
Two of them. I saw. I think I saw because I did see the first King Kong. Right, John Goodman was in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, again, part of Monarch and everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
John
but it
Goodman
was
was
like
an early Monarch agent.
the one that took place in the 70s. That was the one, right?
Oh, wow. Yes,
No,
chronologically
the one
in the film. Yes.
in the film.
You're right.
Yeah, because they're all
You're
coming
right.
in with those Vietnam choppers and all of that kind of stuff. I like that movie. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's I'm you know, I love the old stuff and I love the new stuff. I'm not I know going into something like that that if they do it well, you know, if they make it fun to watch, that I can get along. I can be all right,
Absolutely.
you know.
Here's some comments. Says Dave's Godzilla stuff is awesome, captures the cinematic power, but also the horror of that universe. And then he also says Monarch is king of the monsters, is totally Shield. Yes, from the Marvel Godzilla Herb Trimpe series, 100%, man. Could not agree more. And then here's a nice comment from David. He couldn't hang around, but man, I love David's work. Pardon me, Dennis is saying this. Uncanny Valleys has been great. He loved your Star Wars, High Republic miniseries, Iron Fist, and your Apes mini as well. Such a great artist. Could not agree more, man. And David, is it the watercolors that help change your style? I want to show some commission sketches you've done over the years. There's a great Jonah Hex. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's watercolor. Am I wrong, or what is that?
That's ink wash.
Oh, okay. These are
Watered
mostly black and whites.
Yeah, it's watered down ink and ink wash. That's what I do for those commissions. Is a lot of ink wash. I don't get to do that as much when I'm working on sequential stuff. Um, there's some watercolors and ink wash. That's one of my mainstays. I love doing that one. I did that for the Heroes Con auction. You know, they have that Saturday night auction.
Sure, man.
Which is also sort of it's a bit of a dick swinging contest too. You know, because everybody's trying to outdo everybody else. So you try to put up the best piece because you want to make more at the auction than everybody else or whatever. That's you know, that is whatever it is. It's one of the things that kind of bugs me a little bit about the auction is that whole aspect of it. Maybe I'd feel differently if my stuff got $15,000 or something, but it did pretty good.
You'll get there.
that stuff did pretty good.
Man. No one would be disappointed putting this stuff on their walls. Truly, Dave, I'm thrilled. Was there an aha moment with your art where you kind of found a different way and have upped your game? Would you say?
I mean, it's just a series of small ahas. You know what I mean? A lot of times there is a matter of finding a different technique or a different. When I started doing the ink wash, that was like a little level up right there, where it was just an angle I could add to it. That I think brought a lot of dimension and sort of arty art. You know? Technique, more technique to it. So that was one of the things, and then it's things like that, just you know, like as easy as discovering a new kind of pen that you really like, you know, or a new kind of brush that you like. You just like the feel of it, just right. It's making those lines just the way you want it. So it's just a series of little things like that, or even like noticing how someone else draws a hand, you know, and going, oh, I should have been drawing my hands like that, and then just being like, now I'm going to draw hands like that, or seeing how somebody else does something with lighting, and when you experiment with lighting or something like that, or casting shadows and things, and so it just becomes a series of learning and just doing it. You know, people ask me, what do? You just do it. You just draw. If you draw every day, you get better. You can't help it at some point. You have to, or else. Like for me, I'm like, if I'm not getting better, I don't know what I would do, you know? So when people say like, oh, your stuff is so good now, not that it was bad before, but it's so much better now. And I'm like, I hope it is.
Well,
like
certainly.
I've been working at it for 20 years now. I really hope I'm doing better than I did before. And I hope, but I tell people, because people ask me for advice all the time now,
I would imagine,
which is something that I do, especially at conventions and stuff like that. And I'm trying to think of where I was going with that particular thought. But people, they will ask me, how do you improve and how do you do it? I mean, it's just a matter of, one is not being precious, which is something I'm guilty of all the time. But I used to be much worse about it, where you're just trying to. I get a lot of these people, and you can tell they just put everything into that one drawing, and they put all their time and effort and skill, and they're like, I think I cracked it. This is the best drawing I can do, and I worked a long time on it. And the thing is, if you had not worked so hard on that one drawing, but you had done 10 quick drawings, you'd be a better artist right now. And if you did 10 quick drawings that just look like quick sketches that you didn't want to put up on the wall, you become a better artist than if you work on that one drawing a long time and get it just right. Like, so that's why that's something they teach you like in art school, doing quick, like 1 minute, 2 minute poses, 5 minute poses, 10-minute poses in life drawing class and stuff like that. Because just do these fast drawings, just get it out and do it quickly, and you'll learn so much faster than if you work on one laborious, beautiful masterpiece that you're trying to get. And hopefully, a year later, when you look at the best work you could do a year ago, hopefully you'll go, that's not as good as what I can do now. Hopefully you'll say I can do so much better now.
It's that Malcolm Gladwell 10,000, in your case, drawings as opposed to 10,000 hours and stuff, and becoming better at a skill. No, I get that. Now, well, Michael Jordan is his example of that, and that love of the game clause that he insisted on putting in his NBA contracts and stuff, so that he could get better and play whenever he wanted, and didn't have to, worry about, well, we don't want you to, blow out your knees or your arms or whatever, Michael. And it's like, no, man, I need to get better and I need to keep improving. So that's great to hear, because I know in talking to a guy like Mike Mignola, he feels he has slowed down as he's gotten older because he does worry about every line. And again, another guy like you, Brian Hitch, in my conversations with Hitch, and Hitch is like, oh, no, I'm a lot faster than I was, again, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. No, you're doing it right, David. Honestly, man, I think that's great, man. So you've got a lot of conventions coming up this year, this weekend in Pittsburgh, and beyond that, what do you got coming up?
Oh, well, I'm not doing Heroes, which I'm disappointed, but I'm overloaded. I bit off more than I could chew, and I had to cut something, and I cut Heroes. So I won't be doing Heroes. I am doing. Let's see.
I'm gonna zoom in.
I got Raleigh.
Nice.
That's GalaxyCon Raleigh. I got GalaxyCon San Jose.
Good.
I'm doing Granite State in September. I'm doing Thought Bubble. That'll be fun.
In London, very good.
In England, in Northern England.
Oh, excuse me, Northern. Yes.
Yeah, up in what is it, Leeds?
Nice.
And then GalaxyCon Columbus in December. So for me, that's a lot. That's a lot. The past few years, I've been doing like 3 or 4 shows a year. So to have like 8 shows, that's really like doubled up what I have been doing previously. And it's that thing again where creator and book. I kind of feel like I got to hit the. And then I'm looking at what Tony does, and I'm like, oh, geez, he's doing all these podcasts, he's going to all these retailers, he's doing all these shows. I got to do that. And then it's like, you also got to draw the book, Dave. And for some reason,
Dave, as much as it is a 50-50 thing for the final product, you're carrying the water, and doing what you do and cranking out pages and covers is a lot harder than Tony writing the script. I mean, we love it. Don't get me wrong.
It's definitely more time consuming.
Indeed.
I can't speak to whether I've written things before. I find it very hard. I find writing hard.
Okay.
It's a laborious process for me. I enjoy it when I do it, but it is the kind of thing where any little thing can knock me off my flow. So, and stirring up those ideas and stuff like that. I can find it doesn't always come so natural. So I will never say that my job is more difficult than a writer's job. I will say that it is pretty much 100% more time consuming. But Tony's also working on a bunch of books, right? Like
sure he is.
Was he working on 5 books? I don't know. So so I can't totally be like, I can't follow his example completely. Like I can't go to every show. I can't do every podcast.
No, I understand.
And for some reason I said, I'll color the book too.
The good news is,
good thinking, Dave. Dave never wants to sleep again in his life.
Well, I understand, but the good news is, with you doing all these shows, it's a great opportunity for people to nab some of these commissions and really get some great art for their walls. Not to mention catching up on Uncanny Valley, and really glad to hear these. Yeah, I mean, eventually you'll sell them all, those Guns of Shadow Valley graphic novels, because it was a fun series, man. So, all right, Tony's jumping in. 6 books. Hey, Tone, how's it going, man? I'm glad you're watching.
6 books.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But one of them, he only does like half of it. I hear Tim Seeley's kind of holding the water on that one, So
Hilarious. You're right.
5.5 books.
Actually, I should have them on sooner than later to talk about the latest Local Man and stuff, which is another great series.
Yeah.
And also get his side of
Eisner. But yeah, I was just talking to Tim last weekend because I saw him at the show I was at Cherry Capital Comic Con, and Tim's great to talk to. He's got a very positive outlook on things, on the art and on the industry. Extremely knowledgeable, has an opinion about everything, but in a very cool, open kind of way. He's not. He's one of those guys that's got opinions about about the industry and about everything about it, but he's not trying to beat you over the head with anything. Like he's got the knowledge and he's willing to share it, and I think that's awesome. I really enjoyed talking to him this past weekend. But Uncanny Valley. Yeah, I'm hitting the road doing all those shows. Uncanny Valley. We got 2 issues out. Issue 3 just had its order cut off on Monday, so issue 3's coming up in a few weeks. And it's going great. I love working on it.
Dude, again, knowing all 3 of you, Tim, Tony, and yourself.
Yeah,
it's like I said, it's been a pleasure being ringside and watching you guys grow. And I'm really and especially Tony and yourself, where I mean Tim kind of hit some big moments with Marvel and DC a little earlier than you guys. But no, man, it's wonderful to see, and especially in the creator-owned realm, that you guys are thriving and getting the attention that you absolutely deserve. So congratulations on all that.
Well, thank you.
No, man, I seriously, I'm so glad I saw you at C2E2, and I'm like, oh, there he is. Good. I'm like, we gotta do that. Yeah, man. Well, we need to do that long overdue long conversation that we're having right now and everything. So it means a lot. And continued success. That what more can I say? Everybody, don't forget that Uncanny Valley, as Dave just said, it's issue 3 is coming up. They already had the final cutoff, but definitely 6, hopefully 12, and we look forward to that. And then, of course, the library editions of Godzilla featuring great covers from Dave Wachter. So well done, buddy.
There might be another Marvel cover or 2 coming up.
Variants. Excellent.
Covers.
We love hearing that. Fantastic. Yeah, man. Way to go. I thanks for talking tonight. And let's stay in touch, and let's make sure sooner than later we have another conversation,
Absolutely. This was great, John. I really appreciate you having me on. It's great to talk to. It just gives me an opportunity to talk to you, which is the part that I like about it. Because even I see at a convention and everybody's, it's just a little bit at a time. There's people coming up to the table. You've got places to go. So it's nice to be able to sit down with somebody because there's not a whole lot of bar con anymore after the shows and stuff like that. That all got taken over by people wearing costumes. So God love them. God love them. I love them.
Honestly, next time you're at C2E2, we'll guide you away from the Hyatt and to it's the Marriott that's across the street.
That's right. Well, I'm not going to say.
Oh, okay, yeah. But that's like, because truly, that's I know, like, because Artie and Franco and I, that's where we go to chill, rather than all the cosplayers and everything, and how crazy the Hyatt gets. So yeah, funny. So we'll figure it out. But no, this is great. Again, David, I'm beyond happy for you. My best to you and Jenny. Happy anniversary wise. That's great. Yeah. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow night, tomorrow during the afternoon, it's going to be nighttime, Andy Diggle's time. But long overdue conversation with Andy Diggle. I've been a fan for 25 years of Andy's stuff. 2000 AD, The Losers, and he's got a new DC Elseworlds that he's got cooking, and we'll talk about that and more. So join us tomorrow afternoon, probably 2 or 3 o'clock Eastern time. Once I get it figured out with Andy, I'll have all the details on social media. But until then, everybody stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.